Hey guys, tonight we're leaving solid ground behind. No lifeboats, no radio, no rescue. Just you, the wreck of a medieval cargo ship, and a horizon that hasn't changed in days. You've seen shipwrecks in movies, storms, drama, a heroic swim to shore. That's not this story. This is what really happens when you're lost at sea in the Middle Ages. No fresh water, no shade, no map. Just salt in your wounds and something watching you from below. You'll burn, you'll starve, you'll pray, and the ocean? It'll ignore you. This is the slow, brutal death sentence of being lost at sea before survival was even an option. And by the end of tonight, you'll understand why the sea doesn't have to drown you to kill you. So, before you get too cozy, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this strange little corner of quiet storytelling. And drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's strangely comforting to know who else is drifting off with us around the world. Now get comfortable, let the day melt away, and we'll drift back together into the quiet corners of the past. Your eyes crack open to a sky that doesn't look quite right. It's not blue, not really. It's gray smeared with a sort of dirty gold, like God spilled oil on the clouds and walked away. Below you is worse. Endless, heaving water, the sea, churning with slow, uncaring rhythm, rocks what's left of your world. You're not sure how long you've been floating. An hour? A day? Maybe longer. The salt stings your eyes. Your mouth tastes like blood and rust. You're cold, but your skin burns. And your ship, if you can still call it that, is groaning beneath you. Timbers swollen and splintered like ribs after a bad fall. You're lying half-slumped on what used to be the upper deck of a medieval cog, a fat-bellied cargo ship with a single square sail that once bobbed obediently along the coastlines. Now it's a carcass. The mast is gone, snapped like a matchstick. The sail is a tangled shroud draped over a twisted beam, dragging in the water and pulling what's left of the wreckage sideways. You can smell wet rope, fish rot, and something else, something iron and sour. You don't want to know what it is. You're pretty sure the smell is you. There's no land, no birds, just the sound of water slapping against the hull and your heartbeat pounding in your ears like a war drum. The silence is worse than screaming. It tells you exactly how alone you are. You sit up, slowly, every joint protesting like rusted hinges. Your left arm's wrapped in something that used to be linen. Now it's red. You don't remember why. You look down and see your foot is bare, the toes pale and puffy. The other shoe, if it even survived, is probably miles away by now, bobbing like an empty promise. You were headed for England. Or maybe Denmark. The captain mumbled something about trade winds and tides and keeping to the coast. But something went wrong. A storm, maybe. You remember shouting. You remember the sky turning black too fast. You remember a flash of lightning that looked like it split the ocean in two. And then water everywhere. Under you, over you, inside your lungs. And now here you are, sprawled across wreckage, halfway between existence and erasure. The horizon is jagged with floating timber, crates, barrels, the occasional plank. One of them has a name scorched into it. Something Latin. Something proud once. You think it might have been the ship's name. You think it might have been yours. But the letters are fading fast in the salt spray. Your stomach growls, but it's the wrong kind of hunger, not the kind that asks politely. This one curls in your gut like an animal, chewing from the inside. You lick your cracked lips. Salt. Always salt. Your throat feels like it's been scrubbed with a hot poker. You'd kill for water. You'd kill for bread. You'd kill for something that doesn't move with the tide. A gull screeches overhead, and for a split second, hope lights your chest. But it's alone. Just one. Probably lost. like you. It circles once, disinterested, then glides away, wings wide, confident in its next destination. Must be nice. You follow its path until your eyes blur. The sun's higher now. It glints off the water like knives. You realize too late that you're sunburned. Not a little, a lot. Your skin is tight, pink in some places, purple in others. It hurts to blink. It hurts to breathe. You try to pull your tunic over your head, but it's stuck to you, dried on like a second, rougher skin. Somewhere behind you, the wreck shifts and creaks, and for one nauseating second, you think it's going to go under. You scramble to your knees, gripping a length of wood that might once have been a bench. You whisper something to it. Maybe a prayer, maybe a curse. The ship steadies. For now, there's movement in the water. You freeze. Something long and dark slips just beneath the surface, trailing a fin or maybe a spine. You want to believe it was a trick of the light, but the sea doesn't play tricks. Not out here, not in this century. You take a breath, shallow, afraid it might be your last, and squint at the horizon. Still no land, still no sails. Just you and the ocean and whatever else has crawled out to meet you. You tell yourself someone will come. You tell yourself ships still pass here, that maybe there's a lighthouse somewhere, flickering through the fog. But the sea just laughs. It knows the truth. No one's coming. Not today. Maybe not ever. The sun rises higher. The wood beneath you groans again. And you understand, finally, that this isn't survival. It's something slower, something crueler. This is the beginning of your end. The ocean you're trapped on isn't the kind you see in postcards or tourist paintings. It's not gentle blue ripples or romantic storms. It's not a place of escape or reflection. This ocean is judgment. It's ancient, cruel, and medieval to its marrow. Out here, water isn't just water. It's a sentence passed without a trial. You float on it, yes, but only because it hasn't decided to devour you yet. It wants you to suffer first. It wants you soft and slow roasted, until your hope cracks like sunburned skin. The salt is in everything. It scrapes your tongue and burns your eyes. Your clothes are crusted with it, stiff like parchment left too long by a fire. Even your thoughts taste brined. Your hands, once calloused but strong, are now white and puckered, the skin peeling off in soft, weeping layers. Every knuckle stings like it's been kissed by nettles. Your joints ache, not from labor, but from stillness. Too many hours frozen in fear and sun, bent over splintered wood. The motion of the waves rocks you with the tenderness of a drunk executioner. Forward, back, forward, back, like a lullaby sung by someone who wants you to fall asleep and never wake up. And that sun, that leering, blazing tyrant that hangs just out of reach, hammering your face with light. There's no shade. There's no reprieve. The deck beneath you is hotter than a hearthstone. You shift positions constantly, trying to find a spot that doesn't burn, doesn't rub, doesn't scrape, but it's all pain, just in different flavors. You try to close your eyes, but your lids are swollen, and when you blink, it feels like someone's dragging a knife through sandpaper in each socket. Even your eyelashes are brittle, and it's only going to get worse. In the modern world, we pretend the ocean is tame. GPS beeps gently from polished decks. Radios chirp with coordinates. Rescue crews scan from helicopters. There are life vests, lifeboats, flares, sunblock. But here, in this century, none of that exists. No compass, no radio, no maps you can trust. Your ship's master had a wooden quadrant, a handful of half-remembered stars, and a prayer to St. Brendan. That's how navigation worked. You'd sail with vague guesses, and then hope you didn't drift off the edge of the world, or worse, into something that lived past it. Because here's the thing they don't teach in school. The medieval sea isn't empty. It's crowded. packed with stories, ghosts, and monsters. Sailors speak of islands that move, of whales the size of hills, of sirens that sing you into drowning. They whisper about the mare tenebrosum, the dark sea, where the waters churn without wind and something ancient breathes just beneath the surface. You used to think those tales were nonsense. Now, after days adrift and nights alone with the groaning tide, you're not so sure. Your mind plays tricks, or maybe it doesn't. Shapes ripple beneath the boat, too big to be fish, too smooth to be logs. Once, at sunset, you heard a groan rise from the depths, not from wood, not from wind, but from below, deep below. It sounded like something dreaming in its sleep. You froze, breath caught, sure that if you moved, you'd wake it. You told yourself it was nothing. But the sea didn't correct you. It just smiled and waited. You catch your reflection sometimes in the sloshing tide. Not on purpose. It just happens when you're hanging your head, trying to gather breath or sanity. And what looks back at you isn't human anymore. Your skin is raw, your lips cracked open and oozing, your cheeks hollow, your eyes sunken. You look like you were dredged from the bottom, a drowned man who never made it to shore. You reach to touch your face, and your fingers tremble. It doesn't feel like you. It feels like someone who's already died. And the worst part? The worst part is knowing that no one is coming. You are not on a shipping route. You are not within sight of land. Even if you lit a fire, even if you screamed your throat raw, the sea would swallow the sound like a bedtime snack. You are not lost at sea. You are sentenced to it. And the ocean never grants appeals. The ship is dying. You can hear it. It groans every few minutes like something trying not to scream. The timbers swell and twist with each passing wave, bending in directions that wood isn't supposed to bend. Nails creak loose. Planks flex under your knees like ribs about to crack. The whole thing moves as if it's alive, but sick, rotten from the inside out. You don't know how long it has left. Hours, maybe. Days if you're very lucky, which so far you're absolutely not. Rats were the first to go. There weren't many to begin with, just a few scrabbling shapes you'd spotted in the shadows of the hold. Now they're gone. They knew something you didn't. Or maybe they just had better instincts. They fled during the second night, squeaking as they jumped ship, vanishing into the black water without even a polite goodbye. One of them paused near your hand before it leapt, looked you dead in the eye. You've been thinking about that look ever since. You're not sure how many people were on board originally. You remember a handful, faces half remembered, through fog and panic. Sailors, maybe, merchants, a priest with a crooked cross. All gone now. The last person you trusted was the helmsman, a squat man with bad teeth who knew how to read the wind. He told you to lash yourself to the mast when the storm hit. Said he'd seen worse. Said the ship was sturdy. That was 2 days before a rogue wave took him clean off the deck. No splash, no scream, just gone, swallowed like communion bread. Now it's just you in a wreck that doesn't want to float anymore. The mast is broken in half. A twisted spear of wood juts up from the deck like a snapped bone. The sail hangs like dead skin, torn in places, trailing lazily in the salt-heavy air. The ropes, once thick and strong, have frayed to whispers. Some dangle uselessly into the sea, knotted and bloated like veins. You tug one experimentally, and it snaps off in your hand. You don't try again. You know nothing about sailing. Not a knot, not a wind current, not a prayer. The wheel, if it can still be called that, is jammed and useless. Half the deck is submerged now, and the other half is coated in a thin sheen of salt and rot. The barrels have cracked open, spilling their contents. Sour wine, spoiled flour, a few pickled fish that no longer smell like food. You tried to eat one. It slid down your throat like grease and came back up faster, painting the deck in gray bile. You haven't tried again. What's left of the cabin is too dangerous to enter. The roof has caved in. The walls lean at angles that make your bones ache just to look at them. Somewhere beneath the ruin is a chest of maps. Useless now. Not that you could have read them anyway. They were probably more guesswork than guide, scrawled in Latin and hope. The North Star is gone behind clouds. The sun burns but doesn't lead. You've spun in every direction and still don't know which way anything is. The sea has no signs, no markers, no mercy. Your hands are raw from crawling across soaked planks. Your knees blistered. Your lips are split open in 3 places, and every time you open your mouth it feels like you're chewing glass. You stopped speaking 2 days ago. There's no one left to hear you anyway. Your thoughts now are quiet and heavy, like sacks of wet wool. You think of things you didn't say, places you didn't go. You think of bread, not the hardships biscuit kind, the warm, yeasty kind your mother used to make before her hands turned to bone. You think of her too, and then you stop, because it hurts more than hunger. There's water down below, creeping up from the bottom of the hold, like a rising breath. You tried bailing it out with a bucket once, but the bucket had a hole, and your strength ran out before the hour did. Now the ship lists slightly to one side, the deck always damp, always tilting, always whispering that soon it won't be a ship at all, just debris. You sleep in short bursts, cheek against damp wood, waking every time the wreck shifts beneath you. It's like sleeping on a dying animal. You never forget it's alive, and it never forgets it's dying. The sea is patient. It knows it doesn't have to kill you fast. It just has to wait for the ship to finish the job. And it's almost done. You wake up to the sound of breathing that isn't yours. It's ragged and close, somewhere behind a collapsed beam, where a slick net of seaweed drapes over the wood like rotten lace. For a moment, you think it's your imagination, another ghost conjured by thirst and sun. But then you hear a cough, wet and human, followed by the shuffle of movement. You freeze. Not because you're scared of what it is, but because you already know. You're not alone. And that's worse than being surrounded by nothing. There are 2 of them. Men, or what's left of them. One is gaunt with a nose like a dagger and eyes too large for his face. He has a torn wool tunic, sun-bleached to the color of bone, and a knife strapped to his thigh with what looks like a belt taken from a corpse. The other is bigger, with a crooked smile, and the build of someone who used to haul crates for a living, before the ocean trimmed him down to tendon and suspicion. They don't speak much, just enough to grunt and curse and laugh at things that aren't funny. They found you on the 2nd morning, curled up behind a barrel with your cloak over your head like it could keep the sun from peeling you like fruit. They didn't ask your name. They didn't give theirs. Names don't matter now. Only what you have matters. And what you have is a water skin. It's not much. Half full maybe. Warm and sour with a faint hint of mold. You've been rationing it. 3 sips a day. Slow enough to make your mouth think it got more than it did. But they saw it. One glance, and the dynamic changed. You went from fellow survivor to potential resource. And medieval survival doesn't reward sentiment. It rewards calculation. You started sleeping with your back against a broken spar, your hand on the skin strap, fingers looped through the knot. You moved it under your tunic once, tried to hide it, but the larger man just laughed and tapped the knife on his belt. Not a threat, just a reminder. Everything's fair when nothing's left. They haven't tried to take it. Not yet. But they watch. Especially when you drink. You turn your back, but you feel their eyes, like barnacles boring into your spine. They've started talking more, whispering, then going silent when you get too close. They say things like, "He's soft," and "Look at his hands," as if you're not listening, as if your hearing's already gone, along with your dignity. And maybe it has. You haven't spoken in a day and a half. Your voice cracked the last time you tried. All that came out was a croak that hurt more than it helped. Words feel expensive now, not worth the cost. One of them, Dagger Nose, claims he was a cooper, used to build barrels for wine. The other says he once guarded a spice caravan through southern France, though based on how he flinches every time something moves in the water, you doubt it. They tell stories at night, like old soldiers around a fire, except there's no fire and nothing warm. Just darkness and the creak of wood slowly giving up the will to float. They ask about you once. Just once. You told them you were a scribe. They didn't laugh. They just looked at each other, and from then on never let you sit with your back to them again. Food is almost gone. They found a barrel with smoked herring, but it was mostly salt and bones. Still, they tore it apart like wolves and licked their fingers clean. The smaller one tossed a piece your way, a strip so dry it cracked in your hand. You ate it anyway. You didn't thank him. You've started counting your wounds. 5 blisters, 1 split lip, 2 fingernails gone. Your skin feels thin, papery. You think you're getting fevered. Yesterday, you saw a ship on the horizon. You waved and shouted until your throat burned, but it didn't turn. It didn't even slow. When you mentioned it, they just stared at you. Said they saw nothing. Maybe they didn't. Or maybe they didn't want to. Now they're whispering again. You clutch the water skin tighter. You wonder if you could fight them off. Probably not. You're smaller, slower, too weak to run, too desperate to bluff. You close your eyes and pretend to sleep. Maybe they'll wait until tomorrow. Maybe they'll kill each other first. But in your gut, you know what they're thinking. 2 survivors is 1 too many. The sun doesn't rise anymore. It attacks. It launches itself over the edge of the sea each morning like a flaming boulder from a catapult, merciless and loud and all-consuming. There is no gentle dawn, no cool breeze, no golden moment where the world feels hopeful and quiet. Just a sudden, staggering brightness that slams into your skull like a hammer and announces the beginning of another day of pain. The heat starts early and swells fast, seeping into the soaked wood beneath you, cooking it until it sizzles. You shift your body to avoid the worst of it, but the planks are already burning through your tunic, branding you like livestock. There's no shade anywhere, no sails, no canopy, no helpful cloud that drifts in at just the right moment to offer mercy. The sky is a dome of pure white fire. Even the occasional puff of sea mist dries before it reaches you. You tried once to rig a makeshift cover with some broken timbers and a scrap of linen, but the wind laughed, snapped it out of your hands, and flung it into the sea like garbage. Now there's nothing between you and the sun but hope, and that's running out too. Your skin is starting to fail. First it burned. A sharp sting. Manageable if you didn't move. Then it peeled. Great curling sheets sloughing off like parchment from a ruined scroll. Now it blisters. Angry. Raised bubbles stretch across your shoulders, your forearms, your nose, even your knuckles. You press one by accident, and it bursts, leaking something yellow and hot that makes you gag. The pain is constant, but in the way a toothache is constant. It flares when you forget, when you shift your weight, when you breathe too deep or cough too hard. It owns you. Your eyes are worse. They're raw from the salt, the wind, the endless glare. You squint so much you've given yourself a headache that starts behind your temples and pulses like a war drum. Looking anywhere hurts, but looking nowhere is worse. You stare down at the deck most of the time now, face in your hands, elbows on your knees, just trying to feel less exposed. But the sun finds you. It always finds you. You try to blink slowly, deliberately. Like maybe you can conserve moisture. Your tears dried up 2 days ago. Now your eyes just throb, dry, and angry, as if they're trying to detach and roll themselves overboard. Your lips are cracked so deeply you've started bleeding without noticing. Every time you try to speak, or breathe, or eat, or shift your jaw, you taste iron. You've stopped licking them. It only makes it worse. The others haven't fared better. Dagger Nose has wrapped his head in the remains of a sack, and the big one is taken to dunking his shirt in the ocean before draping it over his face. It's soaked with salt, but stays wet just long enough to cool him. You tried the same, but the shirt you used gave you a rash that spread from your chest to your ribs. You haven't removed it since. You're scared of what's underneath. This morning, desperate and delirious, you smeared fish guts across your face. Not fresh ones. There are no fresh ones. Just the decaying remnants of something dead that had floated up beside the wreck. You scooped it up with a shard of plank and spread it across your cheeks, your forehead, your nose. It stank like a dying god, but the slime clung to your skin, thick and filmy, and for a few moments it felt cooler, like a second skin that didn't hate you yet. The others didn't mock you, they just stared. One muttered something under his breath, something about madness, but then he went back to chewing a strip of leather like it owed him money. You'd kill for shade, you'd kill for a leaf, a scarf, a palm frond. You'd kill for something as stupid and modern as sunscreen, SPF 50, coconut scented. You dream about it sometimes, in brief, feverish flashes. You imagine rubbing it into your shoulders, feeling the coldness of the lotion against the heat. The fantasy almost makes you cry, but your eyes are too dry for that now. The sun doesn't just burn you, it breaks you. Slowly, expertly, like a torturer who enjoys his work. Every hour beneath it peels something else away. First your skin, then your dignity, then the fragile line between sanity and surrender. And all the while it hangs above you, unblinking, watching, not because it cares, because it can. It starts with a decision so small it almost feels like instinct. You unsling the water skin, tip it toward your lips, and catch nothing but the familiar, hollow wheeze of emptiness. You shake it. A single drop clings to the rim, trembles, and disappears into the cracks of your tongue. That's when your body makes the choice for you. Your hands move, wooden and shaking. You lean over the side of the wreck and dip the broken cup, once used for wine, now a scoop for madness, into the sea. It glitters like salvation, cold, clear, alive with movement. The surface glows under the sun, teasing you with the lie that this, finally, will be relief. You raise the cup and swallow hard. It takes less than 5 seconds to realize what you've done. The first swallow feels like hope. The second feels like punishment. By the third, your throat is on fire. Not the clean kind of burn. Not the bracing burn of liquor or hot soup. This is raw, scratchy, chemical. It feels like you drank brine mixed with broken glass. Your tongue recoils. Your stomach clenches like a fist. And deep in your chest, something ancient wakes up and screams, "Too late." You double over and retch, but nothing comes out. There's nothing left to give. The sea has taken everything, and now it's crawling back in. Your lips swell, your eyes sting. The salt fills your nose, your sinuses, your lungs. You cough, gag, and cough again. And still your thirst isn't gone. If anything, it's worse. That's the trick of seawater. It doesn't just fail to hydrate, it steals. Each salty swallow pulls moisture from your organs like a sponge in reverse. It floods your blood, confuses your brain, convinces your cells to let go of what little they're still holding. You try to think clearly, but everything inside you is suddenly moving too fast. Your head pulses. Your heartbeat stutters. You lie back against the planks and blink at the sky, which seems brighter now and closer, like it's pressing down on you. Around you, the wreck groans. Somewhere nearby, a gull cries and then vanishes. You feel the ocean shifting beneath you, swaying like it's laughing. Because it is. The sea doesn't care that you were desperate, that you begged before you drank, that you whispered apologies to no one. It's inside you now. You start to hallucinate slowly. First, it's the sounds. You hear bells, soft, distant, like a monastery in the fog. Then voices, familiar ones. Your mother calling your name. A market seller shouting about fresh apples. You look up and swear you see rooftops, a steeple, a boy running across a green hillside. You blink, and the sky snaps back to blue. The water is still water. Your lips are cracked open and bleeding. Then come the colors. Everything starts to shimmer. The wood beneath you pulses. The sky melts into pink, then red, then something you don't have a word for. You watch the ocean ripple into faces. Not real ones. Faces built from light and shadow. They leer. They speak, though no sound comes. One of them has your father's eyes. You laugh, not because anything is funny, but because you can't help it. It bursts out of you like a cough, loud and sharp. It hurts. The others, if they're still alive, don't come to check. Maybe they're afraid you've cracked. Maybe they've cracked too. Your stomach turns over again. This time you do vomit. A thin, sour stream that tastes like rot and iron. It dribbles down your chin and pools beside your shoulder. You don't bother wiping it away. Your throat feels thicker now. Every breath is an effort. Each swallow sends a flash of pain up to your ears. Your joints ache. Your tongue is swollen. You try to say something to yourself, to the sea, to God, but the sound comes out warped and low, like it's been soaked in seawater too. You close your eyes, just for a moment, just to block out the sun. But in the dark it's worse. The ocean is louder inside your head, sloshing, hissing, whispering things you don't want to hear, promises, threats, familiar lullabies, sung in voices that belong to people already dead. You open your eyes, you're still here, still burning, still thirstier than you've ever been in your life. And the ocean is still inside you. It starts as a smudge on the horizon, a smear of gray against a sky that's been nothing but blistering blue for days. You don't trust it at first. You've seen clouds before, tiny puffs that drift by and leave nothing but disappointment. But this one grows. It thickens, spreads. The air changes. The light dulls. And then, all at once, the sky opens. It doesn't drizzle. It crashes. Rain hits like coins tossed from heaven. Cold, sudden, and loud. The sound startles you upright, and for a moment you just sit there, blinking dumbly, feeling it soak your skin. You should be moving, gathering, catching, but your mind has slowed to a crawl in the heat, and the miracle of moisture feels too impossible to process. Then your survival instinct punches through the fog, and you scramble to your knees, dragging the dented helmet from beneath a tarp of rotting canvas. You hold it up like a chalice, arms trembling, mouth open in something close to prayer. Drops splash inside. Tiny, precious splashes. But they come too fast and bounce off the metal. Most of the water spills over the rim, lost between planks or swallowed by the sea. You adjust your angle, try to steady your shaking hands. You curse the helmet, the rain, yourself. The others, what's left of them, have stirred too. The bigger man drags a wooden bowl toward him, but it's full of holes and leaks as fast as it fills. The smaller one tries to peel back a corner of sailcloth to funnel water into a split gourd. Neither of them speaks. They're too busy failing. This storm isn't a gift, it's a game, and you're all losing. You manage to collect half a helmet's worth, maybe a few swallows, before the rain slows. You clutch it like treasure, shielding it with your body as the final drops fall. Then you bring it to your lips and drink. It tastes like rust and something worse, like something once alive that's been rotting in the sun. The helmet was never clean. It carried sweat, salt, maybe a trace of blood from a fight you didn't see. But the water inside is wet and cold, and it slides down your throat like forgiveness. You cough once, choke slightly, then drink again. You don't stop until it's gone. It's the best thing you've tasted in a week. You sit back, dizzy from the sudden influx of liquid. Your stomach rebels, not used to generosity. For a second, you fear it will all come back up, but it settles, warm and strange inside you. You want more. Your body demands more. You hold up the helmet again, but the rain is already fading. A few drops fall, lazy and thin, then nothing, just gray sky and a memory. The others look at you, not with anger, but with a shared disappointment. As if the rain didn't just fail them, it betrayed them. The big man wipes his face with a rag that does more smearing than drying. The small one mutters something under his breath about curses and waste. No one moves toward you. No one asks if you'll share. Because you won't. You tuck the helmet back beneath the canvas, hiding it like a secret. There's still moisture on your skin. You press your wrist to your lips and suck the salt from it. It helps, not much, but enough to keep you anchored to the moment, to remind you that you're still alive and still suffering, which at this point are mostly the same thing. The sky clears quickly, too quickly. The sun returns like it never left, smug and merciless. The deck steams, the puddles evaporate, the rain is erased before it can matter. You wipe your cracked lips and feel them split again. Blood beads at the corner of your mouth. You taste it and imagine it's wine, or rainwater, or anything that isn't you. For a moment, you close your eyes and pretend the storm was generous, that it gave enough, that you were saved. Then you open them and feel the dryness settling back in like a familiar illness. And you know, without needing to say it, that the sea isn't done yet. It never is. Your tongue is dry enough to crack when you move it, not just dry like thirst, dry like death, like leather left in the sun for a decade and then flaked into dust. It scrapes against your teeth and sticks to the roof of your mouth, like wet cloth frozen in place. You try to swallow, but nothing moves. There's nothing left in you to move. No spit, no strength, no softness, just grit and ache. Your head feels hollow, light, detached, like it's been partially lifted from your body and tied to a string that tugs gently with every wave. Thought comes slowly. It drifts in, useless and vague, then evaporates before it can mean anything. You remember your name, most of the time. You remember the ship, how it splintered like old bone. But everything since then is blurred. Days smudged together by sun and pain, and that low droning buzz behind your eyes that hasn't stopped in what might be hours or centuries. The sea hums, not loudly, but insistently. A faint sound, almost kind, like someone humming a lullaby from a room away. At first you think it's just the wind. Then you hear her. Your mother's voice, soft and sure, rising with the waves. She's calling your name the way she used to when you stayed out too late, when dinner was going cold and she wanted you to come home. You turn your head toward the sound and blink hard. She's close, just beyond the edge of the wreck, standing ankle-deep in water, arms folded, that familiar scowl on her face. You almost laugh. You almost cry. She's still wearing the apron she used to wipe flour on, and her hair's in that thick braid she only wore when she was angry. You try to speak, try to tell her you're sorry, that you should have come back sooner, that you didn't mean to stay gone this long, but your mouth won't cooperate. You manage a wheeze, a grunt, and then a small laugh that sounds like a sob. The others notice. One of them, dagger nose, shuffles over, peering at you like you're something caught between interesting and dangerous. "What are you staring at?" he asks, voice hoarse from days of salt and silence. You blink again, confused. You point. "The cathedral," you say. He looks out over the sea, then back at you. There's nothing there. You want to argue, because there is. A massive cathedral, Stone arches rising from the water, spires piercing the sky. You can see the stained glass, red and green and gold, glittering in the sunlight. You can hear the bells, hear the choir. The sound is sharp and clean and perfect. You press your palms to your eyes and see the colored light dance in the darkness. He doesn't say anything else, just steps away slowly, the way you might back away from a sick animal. You're not sure if that means he's afraid of you or afraid of catching whatever's already hollowed you out. You try to turn your head again, but everything spins. The deck tilts. You slump sideways and scrape your elbow on a rusted nail. You stare at the blood. It looks too dark, too thick. It oozes like syrup, slow and reluctant. Your body is quitting. Not dramatically, not all at once, just pieces at a time. First, the sweat vanished, then the tears, then the spit. Now your mind is peeling away from you like the skin on your lips. You remember reading once that dehydration doesn't just kill, it erases. First the body, then memory, then meaning, until even your pain doesn't feel like yours anymore. You curl into yourself, trying to hold something in, something vital, something sacred, but your muscles tremble. Your breath comes in shallow gasps, and the waves keep singing. You see her again, your mother. She's not on the water now. She's closer, kneeling beside you, brushing your hair back with hands that smell like soap and garlic and old paper. She tells you it's okay, that you can sleep, that the worst part is over. You believe her, until the wind shifts, the light breaks, and she's gone. And all that's left is the sun, the heat, and the sound of your own breath, growing quieter. You forget what you were waiting for. You forget what you were afraid of. You forget there was ever anything else but this. You don't look overboard on purpose. It just happens. A shift in your weight, a roll of the wreck, and suddenly your eyes fall past the edge of the deck into the slow glinting churn of the sea. And something is there. Not a shape exactly. Not at first. Just a shadow that shouldn't move the way it does. It coils rather than swims, lingers rather than passes. It watches. You blink, and it's gone. But the feeling remains, like the moment someone stares at the back of your neck before they speak. You glance over again, slower this time, as if subtlety matters. The water ripples, but not from wind, not from current, from breath. Like something just beneath the surface is exhaling after holding it for too long. You tell yourself it's nothing. A current, a school of fish. Your mind, softened by thirst and heat, you've imagined worse already. But then the wreck rocks, harder than it should, and a deep thud echoes through the hull. Not loud, but heavy, purposeful. The kind of sound that doesn't come from wood meeting water. It's the sound of attention. There's no reason to fear the sea more than you already do. But somehow, you do. The air feels thicker. The sun dulls behind a haze. The others are quiet. Daggernose is asleep or unconscious, mouth open, skin blistered. The big one hasn't spoken in a day. You can't remember the last time he blinked. You're alone in the way that makes everything feel louder. Your heartbeat, your breath, the slow creaking of dying wood. You crawl to the edge and peer over again, slowly, one hand gripping a rope that frays between your fingers. The sea is dark now, not blue, not green, but something deeper. Not a color, but an absence. The surface looks flat, but that's a lie. Something's moving below it, just slow enough to avoid definition. You can't see it clearly, but it sees you. You lean a little closer. The water swells, bulges, then flattens. You spot a tail, or what might be a tail, long and slick, curling into the deep, like smoke vanishing into a chimney. A single fin breaches the surface 30 feet away, tall and motionless. Then it slides back under, silent as silk. You start whispering. Not prayers exactly, just words, pieces of them. Things your grandmother used to say when storms came. Old scraps of Latin from church, bits of lullabies. Your voice trembles but doesn't stop. You don't even know what you're saying anymore. It's just sound. Noise to prove you still exist. Then you see an eye. Not directly. Not fully. Just for a blink. An orb of yellow set too far apart, too deep, too wide. It doesn't blink back. It just remains. And in that single frozen moment, you understand something ancient. This thing, whatever it is, doesn't eat because it needs to. It eats because it remembers. This is not a shark. Not something your world has words for. This is the thing sailors drew in the corners of maps. The creature they feared more than storms. More than pirates. More than God's silence. This is Leviathan in a forgotten dialect. It belongs to the sea, and the sea belongs to it. You crawl backward on hands and knees, trying not to splash. You breathe through your teeth, your heart races. You don't dare close your eyes because you know that if you do, it will rise. The wreck shifts again, and something large brushes the underside with a hollow, wet scrape. You feel it in your bones, a vibration, slow and deep. You brace yourself for a lunge, for teeth, for some uncoiling terror to drag you down, but nothing comes. The sea stills, the thing retreats, but not far. The feeling doesn't leave. You can't shake it. It's watching. Maybe out of curiosity, maybe hunger, maybe because it likes you, maybe it's just waiting for you to slip. You curl into a corner of the wreck, facing away from the edge now. You don't look overboard anymore, because you know what's down there. And it knows you know. It happens fast, but not fast enough. You see it begin. The shift in weight, the slight overreach, the idiot curiosity of a man who forgets, just for a moment, that the sea doesn't forgive mistakes. He leans too far over the edge of the broken hull, squinting into the dark, maybe trying to catch another glimpse of whatever he thought he saw yesterday. Maybe he thought it was a fish. Maybe he thought it was salvation. There's a splash. Not loud, no drama. No thrashing limbs or desperate shouts. Just a single clean sound, like a stone dropped in a well. Then nothing. No cry for help. No bubbles except the first few. No arms reaching skyward. Just silence. Like the sea has manners. Like it tidies up after itself. The big man, Auric, you think his name was, stares at the spot for a few seconds longer. Then he steps back slowly, his face expressionless, like someone watching a lantern gutter out in the wind. He doesn't speak. You don't ask. There's nothing to say. The sea is flat again within minutes, smooth as skin. The ripples vanish. The water darkens. The only trace left is a small smear of wet along the rail, where the man's hands must have gripped as he fell. You stare at that for a while, longer than you should. Eventually it dries, leaving no mark at all. Later, you lie down to sleep and feel a cold dread settle into your chest like a second set of ribs. The sound of water slapping gently against the hull keeps time with your heartbeat, and for the first time since the wreck, you can't close your eyes without seeing the splash over and over again. That quiet, brutal moment where something living was replaced with absence. You sit up, lean against a cracked beam. Tell yourself you'll lie down again soon. You don't. By morning, your back is sore and your neck is stiff, but you don't stretch out. You just stay like that. Knees up, chin resting on your hands, facing the middle of the wreck where it's safer, where the ocean isn't just one unlucky lean away. Auric doesn't say a word. He notices. But he doesn't lie down either. The wind changes later that day, not in speed, just in sound. It carries something strange with it, a low moan that might be the hull, or might be the sea remembering. You glance at the water more now, not to check for rescue, not to look for land, just to make sure it hasn't crept closer somehow. that it hasn't reached up with a wet hand while you blinked and pulled something else away. You think about what might be beneath. Not just fish, not just salt and pressure, but things, old things. The kind of things medieval sailors feared enough to draw on maps with horns and fangs and warnings in red ink. You used to scoff at that. You're not scoffing now. You're listening. There's something about the way the water moved that day. Too smooth, too satisfied. You've seen waves slam against the hull, watched foam curl over the edge, heard the fury of storms. But that moment wasn't fury. It was hunger. And now you don't sleep lying down. You don't trust the stillness. Not when stillness is how it happens. You wedge yourself into the crook of the deck, one foot braced against the mast stump, arms crossed to keep from flailing if something tugs. You tell yourself you're being smart, that it's caution, not fear. But every time you close your eyes, your body snaps awake again at the faintest creak. The man who fell, his name is already slipping. You remember how he looked when you first spotted him. Sunburned, dull-eyed, probably dying. But he was still real, still warm, still breathing. And now he's not. You want to mourn him, but it's hard to grieve when you know that noticing too much means you're next. You glance over the edge once more before dusk, just to check. The sea is calm, too calm. You sit back down, eyes open, back to the rail. And you don't move. You find it by accident. A loose plank near the stern, half covered in rotting sailcloth, gives way beneath your foot and nearly swallows your leg whole. You yank it back with a grunt and fall hard on your side, ribs cracking against the deck. For a moment you lie there, stunned, wondering if this is how it ends, death by splinter and stupidity. Then you notice what's beneath you. A hatch. It's swollen shut, warped from seawater and sun, the iron hinges rusted solid. But it's not sealed, not locked. You wedge your fingers under the edge and pull. It resists. You pull harder. The wood groans like something waking from a long sleep. Then, finally, it gives with a wet pop, and a stench rolls out that hits you like a fist. Rot, salt, damp wood. Decay made solid. But underneath that, something else. Something sharper. Food. You cough once, wipe your mouth, and lower yourself through the opening. It's a tight squeeze. The ladder's missing most of its rungs, and the ones that remain bend under your weight. You drop the last few feet, landing ankle-deep in water that sloshes through the hold like an old secret. The light is thin, filtering down in weak beams through cracks in the deck above, but it's enough to see by. There's fish, dozens of them, dried, salted, and stacked in slanted crates that have mostly survived. You stumble toward them, break one open, and pull out a piece with trembling hands. It smells like death. Not fresh death, but the kind that's been cooked slowly in damp air for a week too long. Still, it's food. You gnaw at it, cough, chew again. Your jaw protests, but your stomach roars. Beside the fish is a canvas sack. You open it with your teeth. Biscuits. Round, hard, almost fossilized. You bite one and it splinters into crumbs and mold. You spit it out. Laugh, bite again. The taste is awful. The taste is perfect. Your body doesn't care about flavor anymore. Only fuel. Then you see the barrel. It's tucked in the far corner, lashed with rope that's turned green with age and moisture. The wood is stained dark. At first you think it's wine, or maybe something worse. But when you crawl over and pop the lid, the smell hits you. Sharp, acidic, pungent. Vinegar. You reel back, eyes watering. For a second, you think you've made a mistake, that it's poison, or that your nose is lying. But then you lean in again, and there's no denying it. Not water, not wine, but close. Closer than anything you've tasted in days. You cup your hands and dip them into the barrel. It stings, The skin on your fingers has cracked from salt and sun, and the vinegar finds every break. You don't care. You raise your hands to your mouth and drink. It's awful. It burns down your throat like fire and regret. Your body convulses, your stomach turns over, and for a second you think you might throw it all back up. But then the heat settles. You breathe through your nose and drink again, slower this time, measured. Your face twists into a grimace, and tears roll down your cheeks. You're crying from joy. You're also crying from vinegar. It doesn't matter. The barrel holds more than you expected. Enough for days if you ration it, weeks if you're lucky. It won't save you. You know that. But it buys time. And out here, time is everything. Time means another sunrise, another night not swallowed by the sea, another hour to dream of rescue or rain or anything else but dying alone. You sit there in the hold for a long while, cradling your prize, surrounded by ghosts of meals that once mattered. The storm above, the monsters below, the silence of the deck, all of it fades for a few precious minutes. You sip again, winch at the burn, and you smile. It's not sweet, it's not water, but it's yours. It doesn't die dramatically. You find it stiff and curled in the corner of the hold, nestled between two crates of salt-fouled rope and a smear of mildew that looks like it's growing teeth. The rat's body is bloated, eyes glazed, paws curled into brittle fists. You don't know how long it's been there. Maybe a day, maybe less. Time stretches strangely when you're starving. You hesitate. It's not disgust that stops you. That left days ago, along with shame and most of your reasoning. What stops you is calculation. Risk. The sickly smell wafting off the thing says no. But your ribs say yes. Your stomach snarls in a way that doesn't even feel human anymore. You poke it with a broken knife handle. The body twitches. Fluid leaks from somewhere under its fur, and you wince, but you don't back away. You don't have the strength to hunt. And this is meat, or something close to it. You bring it above deck with both hands, cradling it like it's something sacred. The other survivor, Auric, wide-shouldered and red-eyed, watches you rise from the hatch like you've been gone too long. His eyes fall on the thing in your hands, and you see it immediately. Hunger. Then something uglier. Envy. He doesn't say a word. Just follows you with his eyes as you sit, lay the rat on the deck, and begin. You're not stupid. You peel back the skin with the rusted edge of a belt buckle, gagging as the fur gives way to slick gray muscle. It smells like mold and iron and wet parchment. You pretend it's jerky. You pretend it was fresh. You pretend it didn't twitch when you touched the spine. The first bite is the hardest, not because of taste, it barely has one, but because of what it means, what it turns you into. You chew slowly, staring at nothing, jaw grinding against tendon and fat. You swallow. It stays down, barely. The second bite is easier, not good. Just easier. By the time you've finished half, Oryx crouched across from you, elbows on knees, face unreadable. You hold the rest of the carcass out without speaking. He doesn't take it. Doesn't refuse it either. Just watches. That's worse. He licks his lips. Not with greed, with thought. You feel something shift between you. It's not a conversation. Just an understanding. You ate something dead. Not just dead. Vermin. And now, with the last trace of decency scraped away, your food too. Not yet. Not immediately, but eventually. The way a man looks at a dwindling fire when he knows there's only one log left. That night, you don't sleep. Neither does he. You both lie near opposite ends of the wreck, backs to the rail, weapons in hand. His is a rusted dagger with a chunk missing from the blade. Yours is a snapped piece of mast sharpened against the hull. They're not tools. They're promises. You close your eyes, but don't let your grip loosen. You count the seconds between creaks in the wood. You listen for breathing. His, yours, and wait for silence to break. Because silence means someone's moving. You think about the rat again. The way its eyes bulged, the way its tail curled around your fingers when you lifted it, the heat it still held. You'd never eaten rat before, never wanted to. Now it's the only thing in your body besides vinegar and panic. You feel it sitting there, inside your gut, heavy and wrong, like it knows it doesn't belong. You curl forward, waiting for the nausea to rise. It doesn't, but it's close, always close. Or it coughs once. You open your eyes. He's staring at the stars. Or maybe just watching your reflection in the black water. By morning, the rat's bones are gone. You scattered them overboard one at a time. Not for ceremony, just to make sure they don't become a point of argument later. You still haven't spoken. You don't need to. Not anymore. It begins with the sound. Not loud, not sudden, just a slow rhythmic gurgle that doesn't belong. You think at first it's the sea lapping at the edges of the wreck, another harmless noise in a chorus of creaks and groans. But then you hear it again, lower this time, a wet pull like a throat swallowing. You crawl toward it, following your ears more than your eyes, and find a puddle that wasn't there the day before, round, still, staring back at you. You don't panic. Not yet. You're too tired for that. You touch the puddle with 2 fingers. It's cold, salt, the same water that surrounds you. You press down, and more leaks up through the crack in the plank like something breathing from below. That's when it hits you. The hull isn't leaking. It's drinking. You move fast, or as fast as your shredded knees will let you. You find your shirt in a heap near the mast and tear it into long strips. You ball one up and press it into the crack, hoping it'll absorb enough to slow the bleeding. It doesn't. You try wringing it out over the side, but the water clings, thick and heavy, like it knows what it's owed. You go again, and again, and again. Soak, wring, press, repeat. Your palms blister. Your fingers split. The salt gets into the wounds and sings. You taste blood before you realize you're biting your own lip. Hard, just to stay awake, just to stay moving. Because if you stop, if you let the rhythm break, the water will win. And once it gets high enough, there's nowhere to go but down. Auric watches for a while, silent. Then he lies back and closes his eyes. He knows. There's nothing to say. The ship's not his anymore. He gave it up when the fish ran out and the sky stopped giving rain. You think he's already left in his mind, drifting somewhere beyond the wreck, somewhere dry. But you're still here, still working. You try the corner of a sail next. It's too stiff. The fibers soaked in salt long ago and dried into something brittle. You wrap it around your hands anyway, press it into the gap, and feel it soak through like paper. More water seeps in. Another crack. A second leak. The ship doesn't break all at once. It surrenders slowly, quietly, with the patience of something that knows it's already won. Your mouth tastes like copper and salt. Your arms shake. You haven't had more than a sip of vinegar in 2 days, and your muscles are starting to spasm with every motion. But you keep pressing. You keep wringing. The water level in the hold is rising 1 inch at a time, and if you can keep it to 1 inch, just 1, you can last another night. Maybe 2. Maybe longer if the wind shifts or a ship passes. You don't let yourself think about the odds. You just count the motions. Soak, wring, press, breathe, repeat. At one point, you scream into the planks. A deep, guttural sound that tastes like iron and burns your throat. No one answers. Not God, not Auric, not even the sea. Just silence, broken by the familiar gurgle of another breath pulled through the bones of the ship. You dream while you're awake now. Short, sharp flickers. A meal, a soft bed, a window opening onto green hills. You dream of wood that doesn't rot, of a floor that stays dry, of a home. But when you blink, all you see is the cracked spine of a ship that's dying beneath you, 1 inch at a time. You know what happens when it gives out completely. You've seen the water. You've heard what lives below. You'd rather bleed than sink. So you keep going. No plan, no rest. Just you, the salt, and your shirt. And the ship, which is all you have left. The wind dies like a candle. Not all at once, but with a slow, choking stillness that creeps in around you. First, the flapping of the torn sail softens, its ragged edges falling quiet. Then the lurching of the wreck settles into an uneasy calm. The creaks stop. The moans go silent. The ropes lie slack and tangled like discarded snakes. You blink. Listen. Wait for a gust that never comes. The sea flattens into glass, not calm, dead. It stretches in all directions with the smooth sheen of an untouched mirror, flawless and terrifying. Each ripple disappears. Each swell goes still. There's no drift, no pull. The wreck sits like a corpse on the water, unmoving, unmoved. You shift your weight, and it echoes. The sound of your body, the thud of your heel against the deck, becomes loud, too loud. There is no breeze to carry the noise away, no rhythm of waves to swallow it. You sit perfectly still, suddenly afraid to move again. Even the seagulls have stopped crying. They've left. They always leave first. You look at the sky. It hasn't changed. Still blue, still cloudless, still watching. The sun hangs directly above, pulsing with a heat that doesn't feel like light anymore. It feels like pressure, like a hand on the back of your neck, forcing your head down. You close your eyes and the darkness is bright with red. Your skin tingles, burns. You pull your ragged cloak over your shoulders, and it sticks to your back with sweat. Time breaks. It doesn't pass like it should. Minutes become hours. Hours feel like dust gathering in your mouth. You lose track of when you last spoke, when you last blinked. Auric mutters sometimes. Nonsense, mostly. Fragments of stories, names of people who aren't here, curses in a language you don't speak. His eyes are sunken deeper now, mouth permanently parted as if he's about to say something and forgot what it was. You ask him once how long it's been. He doesn't answer. You try to guess based on the sun, but it doesn't help. It rises, it falls, but the air never stirs. Each day starts the same, each ends the same. Sweat, cracks, silence. You hope for movement, a breeze, even a faint one, anything. You try spitting into the water to see which way it moves. It doesn't. By the third day, the heat feels like a second skin. You peel off layers, then put them back on when the sun bites too hard. Your lips have gone from cracked to torn. You can't swallow without flinching. You dream about wind, not rain. Wind, a single gust tearing through the stillness and rattling the mast like a war drum. You pray for it. You pray for a storm. You shouldn't, because the sea hears you. The clouds come slow, thick, and gray, and wrong, building in a sky that offered nothing for too long. The pressure shifts, the heat lifts, and is replaced by something colder, but heavier. The air tastes like copper. The water stops being glass and becomes a mirror again. But now it reflects something angry. The light dims. Auric finally lifts his head. His eyes are wide. You don't ask what he sees. You feel it too. The calm was never peace. It was waiting. The kind of waiting predators do before they lunge. The kind of waiting cliffs do before they collapse. The first breeze you prayed for arrives. A whisper at first, then a breath, then a slap. The sail stirs, then whips. The ropes snap to life. The wreck groans like something waking up in pain. You stumble to your feet, eyes on the horizon, and realize the storm's already here. The wind's back, and it hates you. It doesn't build like you'd expect. There's no slow warning, no curtain of dark clouds rolling over the sea like in stories. The storm comes the way a fist does, fast, hard, and aimed straight at your teeth. The sky splits, not just with light, but with sound. A thunderclap that doesn't echo so much as tear. The sea, dead for days, heaves beneath you, as if it suddenly remembers what fury is. And then it delivers it in full. The first wave doesn't crash. It punches. The wreck jerks sideways, and you slide across the deck, fingers scrambling for something to hold. Your hip slams into a broken spar. You taste blood before you hear yourself scream. The wind returns in screams and knives. It doesn't sing. It shrieks. The sail, half hanging and half shredded, catches just enough to whip violently and tear free in a single burst. It vanishes into the gray, gone in an instant. The mast follows. 1 second it's standing. The next it snaps clean at the base like dry bone, crashing down into the wreck with a crack louder than the thunder. It splinters through the deck and takes part of the railing with it. You don't know where Auric is. You don't care. You wrap your arms around the nearest barrel, the one that used to hold vinegar, and pray, not for survival, but for the pain to wait. The wreck is no longer a ship. It's debris, a floating prayer with no direction. Water rushes over it in fits, swallowing and retreating like it's teasing. You can't tell which way is up anymore. The sea is no longer below you. It's around you, inside you, clawing for the space behind your eyes. Lightning flashes. The world becomes white, then black again. You see shapes, waves that look like hills, debris that looks like bodies. You try to count your breaths, but they come too fast and taste too much like salt. You vomit. It doesn't matter. The rain's already washing it away. You hold the barrel like it's your last tether to anything real. The rope you used to lash it down gave way hours ago, maybe minutes. Time is broken here. Seconds last years and then vanish. You float, spin, crash. You hear something crack in your shoulder but feel nothing. Just cold. Just weight. Your knuckles are skinned from clutching too hard. Your mouth is open but you can't close it. The rain is in it. The sea is in it. Lightning again. For a second, the water glows. You see the full shape of a wave ahead of you. It's taller than the mast ever was. It's not a wave anymore. It's a wall. You whisper something. Not a prayer. Not a curse. Just a word you once knew, back before the ocean took your tongue. Then the wave hits. Everything goes sideways, then upside down, then something else entirely. You're under. The barrel's gone. Your arms flail. Your chest locks. Your ears fill with pressure and screams that might be yours. You kick, but nothing moves. The sea holds you like a jealous god. You think for a moment, this is it. The moment it all slips away, you stop kicking. Then something shifts. A pull. A push. You break the surface again, sputtering, eyes wild, mouth open like a fish dragged too far into air. You clutch something. Wood, cloth, anything. It doesn't matter what. You're above water. For now. The storm keeps going. It doesn't stop just because you survived a minute more. You asked for wind. You begged for movement. You prayed for the calm to end. And now you understand. Stillness wasn't your enemy. It was mercy. You come to with your mouth full of salt and your ears full of silence. The silence is wrong. It's too big, too clean. No shouting, no creaking, no flapping sail, no wind. Just the faint lap of water against wood and the rattle of something loose somewhere behind you. You try to lift your head and immediately regret it. Pain spikes through your skull like a spike driven into wet bark. You roll instead, slowly, carefully, and retch nothing but bile onto the scorched planks. You blink again. The world is blinding and blurry and swaying, but you're on something solid, not land. You're not that lucky. It's the hull, or what's left of it. The same wreck you left behind when the storm peeled you off like dead skin. It floats different now, lower, angled, like a wounded animal trying to crawl on one leg. You raise your arm, it's scraped raw, skin peeling, fingernails split. One shoulder is purple, maybe broken. You try not to look at your hands for too long. You already know they're not yours anymore. You scan the deck. If you can still call it that, most of it's gone. A handful of boards. One length of torn sail knotted around a splintered beam. No bodies, no barrels, no Auric. Not even his knife. Just you. You want to call out, but you don't. The silence isn't inviting. It's heavy, sacred, and shouting would be like laughing at a funeral. You try to remember how you got here, not the storm. Parts of that are still etched into the corners of your skull. Lightning screaming, something sharp catching your leg. The barrel that used to be a blessing turning traitor and slipping from your grasp. But after that, nothing. Not even dark. Just gone. Like the sea swallowed not just your body, but the memory of it. You piece things together, slowly. You're alive. That's something. You're alone. That's something else. You don't know how long you've drifted. Could be hours, could be days. The sun's out again, high and merciless, baking the wood around you like clay. Your lips are bleeding. You taste rust and salt and something like rot. You try to stand, fail, settle for a crawl. The wreck groans beneath you, a warning. You freeze. You're not sure if you're hallucinating again. You listen for voices, for creaking ropes or footsteps, for the sound of Auric's wheeze, or the dry scrape of his blade along the deck. Nothing. Just gulls far overhead, circling, always circling. You check the horizon. There's no land, just a stretch of water that has stopped pretending it might let you go. You look down into the sea and see your own reflection. Strange, warped, eyes sunken like graves. You look like someone who's been alone for years. You whisper a name, just to see how it feels. Yours. Maybe. You're not sure. It doesn't sound right anymore. You try to cry, but your body has no more water to give. Instead, you laugh. It slips out without warning, dry and cracked and ugly. It sounds like someone else. You wait for the sea to answer. It doesn't. And that's when the truth settles in. Quiet and final. There's no one else. Not because they left. Because maybe they were never there. Maybe it was always just you. Floating, dreaming, bleeding under the sun. Talking to yourself. Pretending. Inventing stories about sailors and storms and shadows beneath the waves just to stay sane. Maybe the rat, the vinegar, the prayers were all part of it. Maybe none of it mattered. Maybe the ocean doesn't take things. Maybe it just reveals what was never real in the first place. It stares at you first. Not with eyes, not really, just a presence. Shimmering, swollen, twitching slightly beneath a thin veil of water pooled in a hollowed-out plank. You don't know what it is. Could be a jellyfish. Could be a sack of organs, torn loose from something bigger, something smarter. Could be the sea playing with what's left of your mind. Doesn't matter. It's meat. You squat beside it, your hands shaking from effort, from days without real food, from something deeper that feels like guilt but doesn't deserve the word. The thing pulses once. Reflex or life? You don't know. You prod it with your finger. It jiggles. Soft, translucent, blue in places, but mostly gray. The edges curl like wilted flower petals. You think it might already be dead. You scoop it up and raise it to your face. It smells like salt and decay and something like copper. You try not to breathe through your nose. You chew once, twice, then your jaw seizes. The texture is wrong. slippery and rubbery and stiff in the middle, like chewing a tendon soaked in soap. You gag halfway through the first swallow. Your throat closes. Your stomach revolts. You throw it up before you've even finished eating. The sound is loud in the silence. Your own retching, violent and useless. The little bit of bile that comes up burns your throat and spills across the planks. You brace yourself on the hull, coughing, shaking, empty. The jellyfish, or whatever it was, lies in the mess, half digested, torn, still glistening in the sun. You stare at it for a long time. Then you pick it up and eat it again. There's no ceremony, no hesitation, just a quiet decision made somewhere between your ribs and your spine that says, it doesn't matter anymore. You've already tasted it, already paid the price. Might as well finish the job. You suck it down like something stolen. This time you keep it down. Barely. You wait. For sickness. For pain. For death. But it never comes. Not really. Just nausea, the kind you've lived with for days. The same hollow ache in your gut that no longer feels like hunger. Just a bottomless echo. You sit there afterward, sticky with spit and sweat and shame, and you laugh. You don't even sound human anymore. Later, you find the gull, or what's left of it. It drifts up beside the wreck on a piece of flotsam, one wing gone, the other limp and bloated, feathers blackened, skin torn. You grab it without thinking. You press your thumb into its belly and feel the skin give way with a sickening pop. The flesh underneath is soft, rancid. Worms have claimed it, or something worse. You don't care. You tear off a piece and eat. You don't chew, you don't pause, you don't even blink. Your teeth are dull now, your gums sore, but you keep going. The taste is unbearable, but your body doesn't resist anymore. It knows better. It lets you poison yourself without protest. You throw that up too. And then, again, you eat. A cycle, a loop, vomit, swallow, gag, repeat. You have become a stomach with hands, a desperate machine with one goal, survive. You remember bread, real bread. The crust, the soft middle, the way your mother used to cut off the ends because you were too picky to eat them. You'd give anything for that now. For a crust, for a crumb scraped from the bottom of a bag, for the memory of it to feel less like torture. You lie down after the second feeding. Your body twitches, not sleep, just exhaustion. You feel the jellyfish, or whatever it was, still moving in your stomach. Or maybe that's just your organs arguing with your choices. You curl inward. You hum something. Not a song, just noise. You're beyond hunger now. What you feel isn't need. It's compulsion. It's survival stripped of pride, of rules, of humanity. It's you, alone on rotting wood, chewing something that should never have been touched, and swallowing anyway. You don't remember when the ocean started speaking. At first, it was just noise. The hiss of the surf, the bubbling breath of swells breaking against your hull, background sound, like blood in your ears. But over time, the rhythm shifted. You began to notice patterns, cadence, pauses where none should be. The waves stopped sounding like waves. They started sounding like questions. You tried to ignore it. That was your first mistake. Because silence is what the sea hates most. It will fill it with something if you won't. So you talked back. At first it was nonsense. Fragments of memory, pieces of old songs, muttered curses at the sun. You told the water what you missed. Bread, shade, faces that didn't look like ghosts. You told it your name, just to remind yourself you had one. The water didn't answer then, but it listened. You could feel it listening. Then came the voice. Not loud, not even clear, just a suggestion, built from foam and bubble, as if the sea was using your own breath to speak back to you. You leaned over the edge, and it rose up. Not in words, not in language, but in meaning. It filled your skull the way cold fills your lungs. Sudden, deep, undeniable. At first it asked questions. Why do you cling? Why haven't you sunk? Why do you still breathe? You answered. You didn't even mean to. The words fell out of your mouth like they'd been waiting there the whole time. Because I'm afraid, you said. Because I'm stupid. Because I don't want to disappear. The sea didn't laugh. It doesn't have a sense of humor. Only patience. It replied, you already have. That's when something inside you broke. Not all at once. Just a single piece. But you felt it, like a nail slipping loose from the center beam of a house. Something critical. Something central. Just gone. You leaned over the edge again, closer this time, and whispered into the waves. Kill me. You weren't crying. Not anymore. You'd run dry days ago. It was just a statement, a request. You didn't even raise your voice. Kill me. End this. Drag me down. The sea hesitated. Then it said, not yet. And that was worse. Because not yet meant it had plans. Not kindness, not rescue. Just more. You started hearing the voice more often after that. It stopped pretending to be waves. Now it came in gasps between swells, in the creak of wood soaked beyond reason, in the breath between lightning and thunder. You asked it questions. It answered some, refused others. You asked what it wanted. It said, witness. You asked why you were still alive. It said, because dying is easier. You asked if anyone was coming. It didn't answer. You stopped trying to sleep after that. You were afraid of what you'd dream, afraid of what might speak to you from the deep when your guard was down. The sea is cruel in daylight. In sleep, it becomes something else. Slower, more deliberate, like it's building something behind your eyelids. You tried humming once to drown it out. The ocean hummed back, louder. You've given up asking now. You just report. Each morning, you lean over the edge and tell the sea what's left of you. You tell it how many fingers still move, how much of your water ration you wasted trying to swallow rot. You tell it what the gulls won't eat. And still, every time, it says the same thing. Not yet. One day, you whisper. Then when? And the sea smiles without lips and says, when there's nothing left to take. It starts as a sliver on the horizon, a smear of dark just above the waterline, jagged at the edges like a row of trees. You blink. Rub your eyes. It's still there. Land. It has to be. It's too still to be a wave, too solid to be a cloud. Your heart stumbles in your chest, like it doesn't remember how to speed up anymore. You sit up straighter. The pain in your back, your legs, your cracked ribs, it fades under the weight of that shape. You start paddling. There's no oar, just a broken board you found wedged under a shattered beam 2 days ago. It's splintered and salt-swollen, but it floats and it moves water. That's all you need. You slide off the edge of the wreck, legs dangling in the sea, and begin the crawl. One stroke, then another, each one slow and heavy, like pushing through syrup. You aim your body toward the shape and don't look away. You can't afford to. It's far, but it gets closer. You think. Time slips sideways again. The sun moves, but it could have been hours or just a trick of light. You count the strokes. 100, then 200. Your arms ache. Your shoulders scream. But the shape still sits on the edge of the world, unmoved, unchanged. Your body starts to cool as the water creeps higher up your chest. The salt stings every cut it finds. You don't care. You're going home. You try not to blink, not because you're afraid it'll vanish, but because you're afraid it won't. You've been here before, Hope dangling just out of reach like bait on a hook. But this time it looks real. You convince yourself the edges are clearer now, that the light's hitting it different, that you can see the slope of a hill, maybe even the outline of a building. You paddle harder. A wave catches your board and spins you sideways. You flail to stay upright. Salt floods your mouth. You cough, sputter, curse the sea. But when you right yourself and turn back, there it is. Still in the same place. Exactly the same. It hasn't moved an inch. You pause, panting, arms trembling. You look again. Harder this time. It's darker now, but not because it's closer. Because the light is changing. Evening is here. You've been paddling for hours, and the shape? It's still at the horizon, still waiting, still watching. Your chest tightens. You blink, you squint, you rub your eyes again, and the shape begins to blur. Not vanish, blur, like smudged ink on wet parchment, like fog rolling through a memory. You tell yourself it's just the light, that your eyes are tired, that the salt's gotten into your mind somehow. But deep down, you know, the shape was never land. It was never even a shape. It was a lie. A cloud, maybe. A trick of the sea, or worse. Your own mind reaching into the void and painting a dream with whatever scraps of sanity it still had. You float there, adrift, the broken board slipping from your fingers. Your legs go numb. Your lips start to tremble, not from cold, but from something else, something deeper, something that whispers, again and again. You did this to yourself. You think of all the shapes you've chased. Ships that weren't ships. Rain that wasn't rain. Rats that looked like salvation. And now land. The cruelest illusion of them all. Because you believed it. Because you wanted to. Because you needed to. You let yourself drift back toward the wreck. Not because it's home, but because it's all that's left. The false coast fades behind you. The sky goes orange, then red, then dark. You don't look back. You never saw land. Just another promise the ocean never made. You don't decide all at once. It creeps in, like the sun does. Slowly at first, then all at once. Too much. It starts with your hands shaking and not stopping. With your tongue swollen and your thoughts slurring at the edges. It comes when the last piece of fish skin dries to leather and even the gulls stop circling. When the wind ignores you and the sky turns away. That's when you start thinking about the bottom. It doesn't seem like surrender. It seems like relief. You slide off the wreck without drama, no speech, no scream. Just a quiet exhale and a soft splash. The water is warm, too warm, like blood. It wraps around you, smooth as oil, pulling at your limbs like it's been waiting. You close your eyes and let yourself drift. You don't kick, don't resist. You let your arms hang, heavy and limp, and let gravity do what hunger couldn't. It's slower than you thought. The descent is quiet, almost peaceful. There's no violence in it, just depth. The sunlight above you blurs, ripples, shrinks. You hear nothing but your heartbeat and the sound of your own breath beginning to run out. You wonder what it will feel like, the final moment. Will it be pain, pressure, or will it simply stop? You open your mouth. Salt rushes in, fast and bitter, and your lungs seize on instinct. Your body convulses, not with fear but with rebellion. It wants air. It wants to breathe. You fight the urge, just for a moment more. But your body doesn't care what your mind decided. Your chest locks. Your eyes snap open, and your limbs betray you. Your arms flail. Your legs kick, not with strength but desperation, the same kind that drove you to eat a jellyfish, to drink rainwater from your hands, to claw salt from your own lips, just for something to do. Now it's driving you up, back toward the surface, back toward the pain. You break through the top of the water with a gasp that doesn't feel like victory. It feels like failure. You cough, gag, spit out the sea. Your throat burns, your stomach twists, your nose runs blood, and your ears hum. You claw your way back to the wreck with limbs that barely move, hook your fingers into a rope trailing from the mast stump, and hang there, shivering, still alive. You don't cry. You don't have the tears. You just float, your body too exhausted to scream, too tired to hate what just happened. You tried to die. The sea said no. Not out of kindness, not mercy, but cruelty. Because now you know the truth. You're not in control. You never were. The ocean isn't just water. It's will. And it's watching. You lay your head against the wood, cheek to the splinters, and whisper something. Why? No answer. Just the groan of timber and the slow slap of waves. But deep down, you already understand. The sea isn't done with you. It wants you to rot first, to shrivel and shake and scrape at the last shreds of your mind. It wants you to reach for death again and again and again. And each time, it will deny you, because suffering is the ritual, and you're still in the middle of the prayer. It starts small, just a patch, a coin-sized spot on your ankle, red and shiny like old wax. You notice it when the rope slips down and scrapes the skin raw. You don't think much of it. Just another wound in a growing catalog. But by the next morning, it's swollen. The skin around it is tight, too bright, and warm like fever. You press a finger to it and feel pain rise from somewhere deeper than the surface, as if your bone itself has started to protest. Your fingers aren't much better. The salt never lets the skin heal. Each time you touch the deck or dunk your hands in the water to rinse the rot from your face, it cuts a little deeper. You tear off a flap of skin near your knuckle without realizing it, and for a moment, the white beneath looks almost clean. Then the blood starts, thick and slow. You watch it drip and disappear between the boards. You try to ignore the smell, but it lingers. Not fish, not brine, not even waste. Something worse, something sweet and sour and sticky, like meat left too long in the sun. You sniff your armpit, your wrists, the crook of your elbow. It's you. It's your body, cooking and sloughing and softening. You've become your own swamp. A blister pops on your heel while you shift position, and the fluid soaks into the only remaining cloth wrapped around your leg. You bite down on a splinter to keep from howling. You stop wearing shoes. What's left of them? Because the leather fuses to your flesh when it gets wet. Your toes have gone black at the tips. 2 are split open. You prod them at night with a stick to see if they still feel pain. 1 doesn't. Your fingernails are thin now, yellow and cracked. 1 is half gone already, torn off when you tried to pry barnacles from the underside of the hull in a fevered attempt to eat them. You clawed the wood so hard you left a trail of blood behind, and still you only got 1, tiny, rubbery, more shell than meat. You swallowed it whole. You try to keep the sores clean, but that's a joke. The only water you have is what the sky gives you, and it's never enough. You soaked a rag once and tried to dab the worst spots, but the cloth came away streaked with pus. You burned the rag. You told yourself it was to stay clean. It was because the smell made you gag. You don't sleep lying down anymore. You curl up against the mast stump, chin on your knees, arms wrapped around your legs like you're holding yourself together. Because you are. Every part of you feels loose. Fragile. Your skin sags in places, tightens in others. You poke your thigh, and it doesn't bounce back. You are leaking. From every pore, from every crease, from cuts that won't close and cracks that weren't there yesterday. The sea doesn't need to drown you. It's turning you to soup right where you sit. You scratch at your stomach once and come away with something under your fingernail that might have been skin or something growing on it. You are no longer just you. You are salt and scab and spoil. You are festering in real time, softening like bread and water. You think of worms, not because you see them yet, but because you can feel them waiting. Like the sea knows the end is coming and has already sent out invitations. You try not to touch your face anymore, not because you're afraid of pain, because you're afraid of what might come off. It begins with a twinge, just a little ache when you bite the inside of your cheek. Sharp, then gone. You think it's nothing. Maybe a splinter of bone from the gull. Maybe your jaw's just sore from clenching in your sleep. You press your tongue against your gums, feel a strange tenderness there, but you don't stop chewing. You can't afford to. A few days later, the pain returns. Louder. This time it doesn't leave. Your gums swell around your teeth like raw meat puffed with air. The color darkens, reddish at first, then purple, then something closer to black. It's hard to speak, hard to breathe without flinching. You run your finger along the top row and pull away with blood. It tastes metallic and warm and familiar. Scurvy. You remember the word now. You'd heard about it once in passing. Some old sailor's disease. The kind that makes your body eat itself from the inside out. Back then, it sounded like a story, a warning from another world. But now it lives in your mouth. It owns your jaw. You stop chewing anything that takes effort. Soft fish skin, waterlogged biscuit crust. Things you would have gagged at 2 weeks ago now feel luxurious because they don't make you bleed. You suck on them, hold them in your cheek until they dissolve. Let the salt do the rest. Everything else you spit out. One morning, while rinsing your mouth with a handful of rainwater you'd trapped in a cracked bowl, something hard clinks against the wood. A molar. Whole, root and all. It lies there, slick with blood and spit, a tiny white stone glistening in the early light. You stare at it for too long, then you pick it up. You don't know why. Maybe to make it real. Maybe to prove it's not the only piece of you the sea has taken. You think about tossing it into the water. Instead, you tuck it into the rag that used to be your shirt sleeve and tie it off. You cry once. Quietly. Just a few seconds. Then you stop. Because moisture is a resource now, not a luxury. After that, the others follow. Not all at once. Just enough to make you feel it. Each night you press your tongue against a tooth and it shifts. Wiggles. Tilts. Then loosens, like a stone in the mud. Sometimes it comes out on its own. Sometimes you help it along, gently rocking it until it pulls free. You no longer scream. The pain's dulled, or you've dulled with it. Your breath turns sour, worse than before. You feel it when you exhale, thick and wet and wrong. Oric used to cough when he caught a whiff. Now there's no one left to notice. Just the gulls, circling slower now, less curious, more certain. You speak less. Murmuring to the sea takes effort. The words don't sound like they used to. They slur, tumble forward like broken glass in a sack. You lose your F's and your V's first, then your S. Soon even your own name sounds like a whimper. You start dreaming of apples. Big, bright ones. Crisp. Your mind plays tricks. Lets you remember the snap of a bite, the sweetness that flooded your tongue. You dream of the peel sticking to your teeth, of juice running down your chin, and in the dream, your mouth is whole. You wake up with blood on your pillow and a canine hanging loose from your lip. You laugh. It doesn't sound like a laugh anymore. More like a cough, pretending to be joy. You don't know how many teeth are left. You don't count. You already know the number's getting smaller. Like the rest of you. He drifts toward you just after sunrise, silent and sure, like he knows where you are. You spot him before the gulls do. Just a swollen shape bobbing in the slow current, arms out, legs stiff, face down. You don't move at first. You think maybe it's a hallucination, like the cathedral or the coastline. But this time, the shape doesn't blur or vanish. It floats closer, and it stinks. He's caught on a piece of rigging, probably from a different wreck. You don't recognize the clothes, but then again, what does recognition mean anymore? His tunic is black, with salt and thyme. The sleeves have been chewed by fish. His hands are puffed to twice their size. One of them is missing a ring finger. When you pull him in, the body rolls sideways. His face surfaces, bloated and purple. His mouth frozen open like he's still trying to scream. His eyes are gone, just holes now. Tiny crabs have made homes there. You whisper something. Not a prayer. Not really. Just a murmur of thanks. Because he's wearing boots. You strip them first. The leather peels back from his ankles with a wet sound, but they're intact. Better than yours. Your toes are black and soft. These boots might buy you a few more days before you start losing more than nails. You slide them on without thinking, and they fit. Not well, but they fit. Then you notice the chain around his neck. A crucifix. Iron. Stained, but still whole. You hesitate. Not out of fear or guilt, but because it means he was once like you. He prayed. He believed. Maybe he still would if his jaw weren't full of seawater and rot. You take the crucifix anyway. It might help you remember what mercy looks like. You tell yourself you're done, but your stomach says otherwise. You haven't eaten in days. The last thing you managed to swallow was a strip of gull skin, and that came back up 2 hours later with blood. Now the corpse is here. Flesh, meat. You try to ignore it. You try to focus on the boots, the chain, the moment. But the smell turns from death to dinner. You go for the neck. Not the face. Too much bone. Not the arms. Too waterlogged. But the neck, under the collarbone, has soft spots. Places where the muscle hasn't fully gone to jelly. You take your blade, rusted, chipped, and press it in. The skin gives way, like soaked cloth. You dig until you find something solid. You eat. You don't chew, just pull and swallow. Your teeth are ruined anyway. You gag once, twice. You hold it down. You remind yourself, it's food, it's flesh. It's no different than the rat, than the gull, than the slick thing under the plank you didn't name. Your stomach cramps but doesn't reject it. You eat until you feel sick, then you keep eating. Because you don't know when the sea will offer again. When you're done, you drag the body back out and let it drift away. You don't watch it go. You don't want to. It was never a man. Not really. Just a gift. Just a choice. You lean back against the wreck, wipe your mouth, and feel something shift inside you. It's not shame. Not even horror. It's silence. The kind that follows a final step off a ledge. You're not human anymore, but you're still breathing. It starts just before dusk. The light goes soft and strange, bleeding pink into the sea, brushing the wreck in a color that feels too gentle for what it's become. You're lying flat against the boards, half asleep, half dead, when you hear it. Faint at first, a tremble in the air, barely louder than your own breathing. You sit up, squint into the horizon, but there's nothing. Just waves, just sky. Then the sound comes again. It's not birds, not whined through sails. It's music. No words at first, just tones strung together like thread pulled tight, delicate and haunting. Each note lands like it was meant just for you, soft as breath, sweet as memory. Your spine prickles. You swallow, but your throat's too dry to complete the gesture. You don't know where the sound is coming from. The water, maybe, or the sky, or your head. But it's beautiful. That's the problem. You haven't heard anything beautiful in weeks. Not a voice, not a sound, not a dream. The world's been all crackling wood and groaning hull and vomiting salt. But this is different. It makes your skin buzz. It fills a space in your chest you didn't know had gone hollow. You crawl to the edge of the wreck and lean over. The water looks normal, a little too still, a little too glassy, but otherwise unremarkable. The music's louder now. It's singing, unmistakably. A woman's voice, maybe several. Harmonies twisting around each other like strands of seaweed, never clashing, never fading. They don't chant, they don't wail, they coax, they call. You smile. It's not a decision. It just happens. Your mouth moves on its own. The edges curl like they remember joy. Your eyes water, but not from sorrow. The sound is warm and soft and full, like your mother humming by candlelight, like a song half remembered from childhood. You don't know the words, but you want to. You lean farther. The wreck creaks under your weight. A board shifts beneath your knee. You don't notice. You're too close now, too far gone. The water stares back at you, still blank, still silent. But the song continues. In your head, in your ears, maybe in your bones. You reach out. Your fingers brush the surface. It's warm, welcoming. You start to slide. That's when something inside you snaps awake. Not logic, not reason, just a sudden, sharp animal fear, a scream without breath. Your hand jerks back. Your whole body stumbles. You slap your own face. Hard. The crack echoes louder than the song. You blink. The voices waver. The melody shifts. Sour for half a second, like something scolded. You crawl backward. You scrape your elbows on the deck. You don't care. You keep crawling until your back hits the mast stump, and you curl up, panting, trembling. The music continues, but now it's distant again, like it knows you've stepped away. You press your palms to your ears. It doesn't help. You rock back and forth, eyes squeezed shut, lips moving in some nonsense prayer, trying to drown it out with breath and heartbeat. Eventually the song fades, not all at once, just note by note, like someone turning away. You sit there until night falls, and even then, you don't sleep, because you know it'll be back. And next time, you might not slap hard enough. You see it just past dawn, when the fog begins to pull apart like wet cloth. At first, it's only a shape, a dark streak slicing the mist, low on the horizon, and moving too slow to be wind-driven. You freeze, hand half raised, crusted eyes trying to focus. Your brain claws for logic, for joy, for warning. A ship, an actual ship. Your heart lurches forward, dragging the rest of you with it, dizzy with hope, wild with disbelief. But then it doesn't move. Or rather, it moves wrong. Not in the way sails should catch the breeze, not with the gentle listing of a hull alive in water. It glides, deliberate, too steady, like it's being pulled by something beneath. The sails are black. Not weather-worn, not painted, just black, deep and dry, like scorched cloth. No markings, no flag, no crew scrambling across the deck, just silence. You watch for long minutes, too afraid to look away, too paralyzed to speak. You wave, half-hearted at first, then harder. You croak out a shout, cracked and raw, something between a plea and a warning. The sound vanishes into the fog, swallowed before it can reach the shape. The ship doesn't answer. It keeps moving, closer now, close enough, that you can see the water around its hull. Or rather, the lack of it. The sea doesn't ripple where it passes. No wake, no churn, just motion. Like the ocean parts for it. You crawl backward. Not from pain, not from fatigue, but from instinct. Something older than language stirs in your ribs. This is not a rescue. This is not salvation. This is something else. You press your back to the mast and squint through the fog, heart thudding so hard it makes your vision pulse. The ship stops. Just there, just outside your voice's reach. And now you can see it better. The deck is empty, yes, but not clean. It's littered with something. Shapes. Too still. Too wrong. Ropes hang like nooses. A bell swings on a crooked arm, but it doesn't ring. You stop breathing, because now the smell reaches you. Not rot, not salt. Something worse. Like iron and smoke and ash ground into bone. You feel it coat your teeth, your eyes water, and the tears burn. You look down, gripping the edge of the deck with white-knuckled hands, and you try to convince yourself it's all in your head. Hallucination, fever. But when you look up again, the ship hasn't moved. It's watching. You don't know how you know, but you do. The same way prey knows when it's being stalked. There are no eyes, no voice, just presence, a pressure behind your teeth, a weight in your gut. You shake your head. Whisper no. You want it to go away. You want to unsee it. You want it to pick someone else. Still, it lingers. The fog shifts again, curling over its deck like fingers. Shadows stretch long across the sails. You see something, just for a second, perched at the prow. Tall, pale, face wrapped in black. You blink, and it's gone. That's when you crawl inside the hull and don't come out. You wedge yourself between broken barrels and the last of the fish bones, and you wait. You don't pray, you don't ask. You just keep your mouth shut and your eyes closed. Because even ghosts need silence to pass you by. When you finally look again, hours later, the fog has swallowed the horizon, and the ship is gone. But the water hasn't moved, and neither have you. At first, it's the sound that gets you. Sharp, echoing, too clean to be wind. You snap awake, neck bent wrong, head crusted with salt. A high-pitched cry slices across the silence, and your heart kicks once in your chest, hard enough to hurt. You lift your head, blink, listen again. Gulls. You haven't heard gulls in days, maybe weeks. You can't tell anymore. The world has blurred into sun and salt and the slow decay of your body. But that sound, bright and familiar, cuts through the fog of your skull like a knife. You roll over, crawl to the edge of the wreck, and squint upward. There they are, 3 of them. Big, white, stupid birds wheeling above you in lazy circles. You watch them for too long, too afraid to blink. It feels like looking into a memory. Something too good, too clean to be real. They're calling to each other, not to you. You don't matter to them. You're just another shape in the sea. But they're here. And gulls mean land. They don't drift out this far, unless there's something nearby. A coastline, a reef, a rock with fish guts and dead crabs. You feel it before you smell it. A shift in the air. The breeze tastes different. Less salt, more life. A hint of something earthy, something green. You start crying. This time, the tears come fast. No shame, no hesitation. They spill out in thick drops down your sunburnt cheeks, stinging as they go. You try to laugh, but it comes out broken and strange, like a cough wrapped in hope. You wipe your face with the back of your hand and whisper, "It's real." But then your breath catches. Because you've done this before. You remember it now. The cloud you thought was a hill. The shape on the horizon that stayed exactly where it was for 2 days. The gull-shaped blur that turned out to be nothing but a piece of sail twisting in the breeze. You've cried for land before. You've begged for it. You've promised yourself it was close. You swore you smelled pine once. You tasted wet earth in a dream. You told the sea you believed. And each time, it lied. So, you hesitate. The birds keep circling, but they're higher now. Wider arcs. Not interested in you. Your stomach tightens. Your fingers dig into the wood beneath you. You search the horizon, desperate for proof. Anything solid. A shadow, a line of trees, a slope of sand. But there's nothing. Just waves and sky and the ache of your own want. Your hope begins to rot inside you. You try to sniff the air again, but your nose is clogged with dried blood. You taste nothing. You see nothing. You hear only the gulls. And even there, starting to sound farther away. Like laughter slipping into another room. You whisper, "Don't do this to me." It's unclear who you're talking to. You lie back down, stare at the sky. The birds vanish into the sun. Maybe they were never there. Maybe they were another shape made by your failing brain, pieced together from scraps of memory and madness. You close your eyes and think of dirt, of the weight of it, of digging your fingers into wet ground and not letting go. You picture grass bending under your body, shade falling across your face, the silence of trees instead of waves. You almost believe it. Almost. But not enough to move. Not enough to hope again. The surf pulls you in, like it's giving up on you. One moment you're floating, face down in foam, the world spinning too slow to hold on to. The next, the water shifts beneath you, and your body stumbles forward, belly scraping sand, lungs dragging in air that tastes like smoke and life. Your fingers dig into the shore, not by choice, but by instinct. Your knees follow, then your ribs. You cough up brine, bile, and maybe part of yourself. You don't lift your head, you just breathe. There's dirt in your mouth, real dirt, not wood, not salt. You're afraid to open your eyes, afraid it's another dream, another trick of the brain unraveling in the sun. But you hear it. Footsteps on gravel, fabric rustling, distant voices murmuring in a tongue that doesn't belong to you. You blink against the grit and find sky. Not just sky, clouds, full ones, gray and bloated, with something like promise. The sand sticks to your cheeks, your lips, the open sores on your elbows. You try to lift your head again and manage a few inches before your neck gives out and you slump sideways. The voices get closer. They speak low, uncertain. One sounds older, maybe female. Another coughs like he's afraid of catching whatever you are. You hear the crunch of their feet. You feel their shadow. Then something nudges your side. A stick. They don't know what you are. You don't blame them. You look like something the tide rejected. Your body's a ruin. Skin cracked and blistered. Half your ribs showing. Teeth gone or loose or black. Your fingers are curled like a dead man's. The soles of your feet are more wound than flesh. Your eyes, when they open fully, are the eyes of someone who's been buried alive. They prod you again. You don't move. Not because you want to seem harmless, because you have nothing left. No strength, no fear, no shame. You are a body at rest for the first time in weeks, and even pain has stopped knocking. One of them leans in. You smell onions, ash, something smoked. Their fingers graze your shoulder. Pull back fast. You imagine what you feel like. Heat, salt, and rot. They murmur to each other again. Quicker now. Not alarmed. Not yet. Just wary. You catch one word. Plague. And almost laugh. If death was coming for them, it already missed you. You want to speak. To say you're not a ghost. Not a demon. Just a man. But the words don't come. You roll onto your back and stare up. The clouds shift. The breeze moves across your face and doesn't hurt. That alone is enough to break you. You start crying again, dry sobs that sound like laughter with nothing behind it. More voices, more people. The circle grows. Children whisper. Someone spits. One man pokes your side harder and mutters something about bad luck. You let them, because it doesn't matter anymore. You made it. You're not drifting. You're not rotting on splintered wood or talking to hallucinations or carving pieces off corpses in the night. You're on land, with real people, real smells, real soil, under your palms. And for now, that's enough. You close your eyes and let the world decide what to do with you. They don't carry you. They don't even touch you. You wake where you collapsed, the sand crusted to your cheek, flies crawling on your lips. A crude fence now surrounds you. Woven branches, roped stakes, something built quick and out of fear. There's a bucket of water 10 feet away. You're too weak to crawl to it. You try anyway, dragging yourself forward with elbows that feel like snapped branches. When you reach it, you nearly knock it over, fumbling for the rim. It tastes of ash and rust, but it's wet. You drink until you vomit. Then you drink again. No one speaks to you. Not directly. They watch from a distance, over the fence, behind windows, from the higher steps of the dirt road leading into the hills. You hear them mutter. The words are foreign, but the tone is not. It's the same tone you heard from the other survivors before they died. Suspicion, disgust, dread. You sit back on your heels, trembling, and realize your clothes are gone. They must have stripped them while you were unconscious, but they didn't take them far. They're burning in a pit nearby. You can smell the smoke. Fabric, fish rot, flesh. One man stands near the fire with a pole, turning the heap like he's tending meat. He doesn't look at you. None of them do. When food comes, it's left in a bowl on the ground. They use a long stick to push it through the fence. A thick porridge of something gray and sticky. You eat it with your fingers, slurping it down between split nails. No spoon, no cloth. They don't want anything back that you touch. That night, you shiver beneath a wool blanket they toss to you from 6 feet away. It smells like goat and smoke. You don't care. You wrap it tight, curl into yourself, and stare at the stars. You think about the storm, the wreck, the body you ate. You think about the sea. You think the sea was kinder than this. In the ocean, you were dying, but you were part of something vast, something old and honest. It didn't lie to you. It didn't pretend. It just took. Here, these people look at you like a wound that won't close. They murmur about curses, evil spirits, the walking dead. They don't say your name. They never ask if you have one. One child throws a stone. It hits your shoulder and you flinch, too slowly to duck. He laughs, but not like a child should. The others say nothing. No scolding. No pulling him back. They let him watch you like he's waiting for you to sprout horns. Someone paints a mark on the fence post near your enclosure. A red smear that looks like a sickle or a crooked moon. You don't know what it means, but it doesn't mean safety. They feed you once a day. Water comes irregularly. Sometimes they forget. Sometimes you wonder if it's on purpose. You don't ask. You don't speak at all anymore. Your voice gave out somewhere between the screaming and the singing. A woman comes once, closer than the others. She wears a cloth over her mouth and sprinkles something around the edge of the fence. You think it's salt or ash, maybe both. She never meets your eyes, just mumbles and backs away. You laugh once, just once, short and sharp, because you survived monsters, sirens, hunger, madness. You survived the sea, and now you're a ghost behind a fence, a myth in rags, a warning story for village children. You didn't bring the plague, but they give it to you anyway. They say you lived, but they don't say it like it's a miracle. They say it quietly, like a question they wish they hadn't asked. Like your existence now is more troubling than your death would have been. You overhear them sometimes through the gaps in the fence, speaking your survival like a curse. Still breathing, one mutters. Somehow, as if your lungs defied nature, as if your heart made a deal it shouldn't have. But it beats, and your ribs rise, and you eat. Slowly, carefully, like someone relearning what food even is. Your tongue still expects salt. Every sip of clean water feels wrong in your throat, like it has to pass through ghosts first. You drink it anyway. You've learned not to spit blessings, even when they taste like lies. Your skin never recovers. It sloughs off in patches, thin and pink beneath, too soft, too new. Blisters become scars, scars become maps, and no part of you matches anymore. One shoulder peels endlessly, like it forgot how to stay whole. Your fingertips remain raw, the nails never quite growing back right. You try not to look at your feet. You still can't feel all your toes. When you sleep, it's not rest, it's return. The sea still lives behind your eyes. It drags you back each night. Splinters in your palms, sirens in your ears, the sound of mast wood snapping like bones. You wake gasping, choking on air that your body mistakes for water. Once you woke screaming and tore at the blanket, thinking it was seaweed wrapped around your neck. They found you curled in the corner, shivering. No one came close. Thunder sends you crawling. Not rain. Rain is fine. But thunder cracks open the sky like the mast snapping again, and suddenly you're on the wreck, clinging to splinters, praying to gods you no longer trust. You bury your face in the dirt and wait for it to pass. The villagers have learned not to look. You talk to the sea sometimes. Not out loud, just with your eyes, when you're allowed to walk near the edge of the shore under watch. You never step in. You never wade. But you look, and it looks back. Calm now. Smooth as glass. As if none of it ever happened. As if it didn't try to break you down into pieces, then leave the worst parts intact. Sometimes you cry, but mostly you don't. Not because you're strong, because crying wastes water. Your mind is quieter now, not empty, not peaceful, just quieter, like a room with furniture missing. You forget names. Yours comes back slowly, like a tide. You forget words for simple things. Bowl, tree, pain. You know them, but they slip when you reach, so you stop reaching. The villagers never take down the fence. Even after the sores scab, even after you stop screaming, even after the birds land near you and don't fly away. You are the shadow that sits near their field, the reminder of something worse than death. A story in human skin. You lived. You know that. You walk, you breathe, you think, but you do not return. Not to who you were. Not to anything before the wreck. The ocean didn't kill you. It remade you. And you can feel that version of you still out there. Adrift, gnawed by gulls, whispering to the waves, waiting for you to slip again. It's not gone. It's just beneath the surface. The village fades behind you with every step, its walls and whispers swallowed by the wind. The road isn't much. A rut carved by cartwheels and hooves. But it leads you to the edge, where earth gives way to surf and everything smells of salt and endings. You don't walk fast. Your legs aren't what they were, but they carry you far enough until the fence and the fields are just shapes behind you, and ahead, only the sea stretches wide and endless like a sky turned upside down. You don't plan to stop, you just do. Feet planted in sand, still damp from the morning tide, you stare at the horizon like it owes you something, like it might offer an apology, or a reason, or a hand reaching back. The waves move slow today, lazy ripples kissing the beach and pulling back like breath. Harmless, innocent, but you know better. You know what it hides. The water is flat, but you hear it. Beneath the hush and foam there's a voice, low, patient. It hums like memory. It says your name. Not the way the villagers say it, sharp and cautious, but soft, like it's remembering you from a dream. It draws you forward without touching you. You step closer. Not into the sea, just to the edge. Enough for your toes to feel the cold pull of the tide as it reaches for you, and then lets go. It doesn't yank, it doesn't crash, it invites. Because it remembers. The sea does not forget. Not your name, not your face, not the sound you made when you begged it to let you die, not the piece of you it kept. The ocean doesn't lose things. It stores them, tucks them deep under layers of silt and silence and waits. You feel it now, watching. Not with eyes, with presence. The kind that slips beneath your ribs and settles behind your heart like an anchor. You still dream of it. In the quiet hours when your breath grows shallow and the world narrows to shadows, it returns. Not as a place, but a hunger. Not violent, worse, familiar. You see the wreck again. Hear the creak of dying wood, taste salt in your lungs. But most of all, you feel it watching you. Not angry, just curious. You stepped into it once. It's waiting to see if you'll do it again. You crouch in the sand and dig your fingers in, like that might ground you, like earth can save you from memory. The grains cling to your skin, coarse and real, and you hold on to that, the scratch of it, the weight. But the pull never fades. You whisper something, a name, a plea. You don't know which. Maybe both. The waves don't answer, but they don't leave either. You were supposed to be dead. Everyone knows it. The villagers won't say it, but it's there in the way they avoid your eyes, the way children hush when you pass. You crawled out of the sea wrong, and now you're something they can't place. Not cursed, not holy, just touched by something old and wet and endless. You wonder if part of you is still out there, floating, watching, singing, waiting. The tide creeps closer. Not enough to reach you, just enough to remind you it could, and if you stepped forward, it would part again, let you slide beneath, let you vanish. You don't, but you don't step back either. You just stand there, staring out, until the sky darkens and the sea glows silver with moonlight. And still, it watches.